Here we come. Hector Gomez, good morning. Trey and Rose, welcome. Tracy Bogert, welcome in. Quick sip of coffee.
Now, Chris Duel.
We made it. It's Friday. Thank goodness. Here we are. Friday, May 7th. The Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, who went to the Round Rock Express opener last night. We'll certainly talk about that. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. Three, actually, great contest opportunities for you this morning. 6:20 coming right up, less than 10 minutes. 7:20, that'll be the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. 8:20, your chance to win tickets for the NASCAR at COTA race coming up on the 23rd of this month. And Shannon, we talk sports here. We have fun most of the time. And sometimes in sports, just like sometimes in life, there's a tragic story that is just so awful and so sad and kind of clouds what we do for the day, for the morning, for wherever we are. And sadly, and I was at a pool yesterday in the afternoon, and you texted me the very, very sad story coming out of Austin, and apparently just adjacent to the University of Texas campus yesterday.
Yes, very sad news. Jake Ellinger, known to the team as a guy who could walk into the locker room and make anyone smile. Most know him, however, in Texas Nation, Longhorn Nation, as the younger brother of Sam. Both were great players for Westlake, the big high school here in town, but he has unfortunately passed. And it's tragic, very surprising story that broke yesterday afternoon. It's so hard to believe. I keep replaying the video of Sam getting drafted just last weekend, where his family, including his brother, were surrounding him, so joyous and excited. And all that has just kind of come crashing down with this sudden news.
So very sad. And most people know, certainly people who listen to sports talk radio in Austin or San Antonio or in the great state of Texas, know the biography of Sam Ellinger and his brother Jake and that family, how, their dad running a triathlon, or participating in a triathlon, died of a heart attack several years ago. So certainly tragedy visited that family when Jake and Sam Ellinger were young, or when they were just boys, and they had to deal with that as boys and overcome that tragedy. And they certainly both went on to play football at a very high level at the University of Texas. And now Sam Ellinger moving on to the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts. And it's just so sad and just hard to wrap my head around, just the level of tragedy this family continues to endure.
Yeah, you mentioned their father's passing. That was just in 2013, which in the grand scheme of things is not that long ago. And there is no word yet on what caused the sudden passing. And we're not here to speculate, just offer our thoughts and condolences to the Elger family and Longhorn Nation, and to thank all of those who have been supporting them online. It's been incredible to see rival schools and their fans reach out. I know a lot of OU fans are changing their profile pictures to Jake for the time being, which is exceptional because it is sports related, but it's bigger than sports when it's something like this.
I did see that this morning as well, Shannon. And, we as sports fans and as rivals, take shots at one another, poke fun at one another, make fun of other schools and fan bases. And I would join you in giving kudos to those, such as the Oklahoma Sooner, of all people, fan base. I see a lot of that going on. OU fans changing, as you said, their profile pic to Jake Ellinger and asking other Oklahoma fans and different fans from other rivals of the Texas Longhorns and across college sports to change their profile pic to Jake Ellinger. And again, I totally agree with you, Shannon. It's not our place to speculate, just to report what we know. And what we know is that Jake Ellinger was found dead not far from the UT campus in a residential area. And they are saying that while no cause of death has yet been released, authorities are saying his death is not suspicious, which is kind of an interesting, interesting reporting and just an interesting part of that story. But my goodness. And, in sports and in life, sadly, horrible things happen. And this is just a horrible, tragic, sad death. And certainly in Austin and certainly on that campus and everybody associated with and fans of and alumni of and students of the University of Texas. It's going to be a sad day, a sad weekend, and a sad several days as everybody processes this.
Yes, and Sam, of course, just drafted, so was up in Indianapolis already for rookie minicamp. When unfortunately this news came out, they quickly got him on a plane to send him home to Austin. It was supposed to be the time of his life right now. He even got his number yesterday. He will be sporting number 4 because, as we know, Carson Wentz couldn't get number 11 in Indy, so he was going to don that number 4. So, again, just thoughts and condolences and prayers and all the love to the Ellinger family as they go through this.
I was reading as well, and you mentioned the joy of the Ellinger family and Sam and Jake. And, when Sam was drafted just last weekend by the Indianapolis Colts, and apparently the one of the networks, either NFL Network or ESPN, put up to identify Sam Ellinger as the draft pick of the Indianapolis Colts, put up a photo of Jake. And Sam Ellinger said, "Hey, that's great." He said Jake deserves all the publicity he can get, so I'm cool with Jake getting screen time. So it's just a fun little draft day story that, days later now, this sadness happens. So, and I echo your sentiments, Shannon, our thoughts, our condolences, our prayers to the Ellinger family, and I know there's lots of people in that football program who are friends of both of those guys, and even those who did not know them are touched and felt like they knew them. I've never met Sam Ellinger, but I'm a fan. He's been an inspiration, and that story of both of those young men overcoming the sad loss of their dad in 2013. And again, this morning, Shannon, I was going back and looking at video footage of the first time Sam and Jake Ellinger ran onto the field together, and Jake's holding the American flag, and Sam saying, this is something we've dreamt of ever since we were kids, and here we are, we're doing it. That's got to be a great moment that certainly Sam now will remember for the rest of his life. Just something very, very meaningful for both of them and for anybody who knew them. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that story this morning. We're saddened, and I'm sure you are as well. But we'll also talk NFL football. Interesting story out of Buffalo. I know we got a contest coming up in about 60 seconds, but just a preview, and we'll get into the discussion. The general manager of the Buffalo Bills, in a radio interview, because there are incentives, and baseball's done this, the NBA's done, there are incentives for NFL teams if a certain percentage of your players and staff are vaccinated, then opportunities expand for you, opportunities to gather together, opportunities to have meeting spaces, opportunities to do more things that you might not otherwise have done. So the general manager of the Buffalo Bills has said that, in fact, his name is, I wanted to get his name is Brandon Beane, Beane. Brandon Beane has said, if it came down to it, if he needed to cut a player to get a better advantage, practice-wise, facilities-wise, meetings-wise, he would cut that player. So that is a very interesting story and a sign of the times. And I imagine that's a bit controversial in a time when some people out there are choosing not to get the coronavirus. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk NBA. Lakers, Anthony Davis, I think, banged up again. Lakers now in a virtual tie to fall into the play-in series. We will get into that and a whole lot more. But right now at 6:20, we're going to do this at 6:20 now and at 7:20, and we do it 12 times throughout the day, both on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760. It's the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. You're going to get a keyword right now. You go to either website, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760, pop in that keyword and you're in. You got a shot at $1,000. Here it is.
Now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Sports. That's sports. Enter it now.
Sports. That's an appropriate keyword for Sports Talk Radio. We'll do this contest again at 7:20. We do it 12 times throughout the day. And don't forget, 8:20 this morning, one more opportunity for you to snag some outstanding tickets to the NASCAR at COTA event coming up on May 23rd. So diving back into this this story out of Buffalo, where the Buffalo Bills, actually it was the team's radio show, according to the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, which is a newspaper, where the general manager of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, said that he would, if it came down to it, and if it would benefit the team and create more opportunities for them to have a better advantage, he would cut a player who had not had the COVID-19 vaccine. Shannon, how do you feel about this?
I am still a little indifferent because it is so early on in even the vaccine being administered. Because obviously, when I hear this discussion, I think of like when you're a kid and you have to get vaccinated to go to school, and when you're about to end your high school career, you have to be vaccinated before you can go live in a dorm on campus. So I see it heading towards that kind of level, but such a small percentage of the population has been vaccinated fully. There's been more that have had the first, or even people who are getting the first, not going back to the second. So I think it's a little too soon to maybe say, here's, the rules, the new rules set in place. Because I also know there's conversation even outside of sports of should people have it on their passport that they're vaccinated, this, that, and the other. So I right now I'm a little just indifferent. Obviously I'm vaccinated, so I'm kind of good with them saying okay, because doesn't really affect me at this point, which I know is the selfish answer, but it is hard. And that does take us to our poll question today, sir, asking, should sports teams cut players who refuse to get the COVID vaccine? Pretty simple, yes or no. And right now 33% saying yes and 66% saying no. And I guess a lot of this does sway on your thoughts on the vaccine in general, because I would think if you're totally cool with the vaccine, then you're fine and do believe in it and believe that everyone should be vaccinated. So why not cut those that aren't with the program there?
Yeah, and I am one of those people like you, Shannon, who has been vaccinated, and I am, as you just said, totally cool with the vaccine. And one of the reasons is I've paid attention to the vast majority of credible epidemiologists, doctors, and scientists. I know everybody can go find somebody on YouTube or find somebody with a blog who might even be a doctor, but those doctors are in the vast minority. And we're approaching 600,000 deaths in America. And if I'm a sports team, there are certain things that, as you just said, Shannon, to go to school, to get into a dorm, there's certain places in life you have to get vaccinated for a wide variety of things. There are other laws like seat belts. It's like, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. I'm free to be in. It's my car. It's my life. Well,
which also weren't always a thing, right?
Yeah. So I especially an NFL football team or an NBA team or a Major League Baseball team, it is a multi-million-dollar business. Overall, league-wide, it's billions of dollars. So if you want to be an employee, if you want to be a player for an NFL team, and yet the rules, if they make the rules and the rules are you need to be vaccinated and you refuse, then, hey, there's a lot of other places you can go find employment. So, and I know there are some people, I've got people in my family who don't want to get vaccinated. There are people who vehemently disagree and are worried and have heard bad things and are afraid, to be quite honest. And I think at a time like this, you've got to trust science and you've got to do your own research. And I really believe that when you look at the vast, vast, vast majority of experts in science, in medicine, in epidemiology, they're saying this is necessary. This is the way we beat the damn virus. All right, enough of that. It's Sports Talk Radio. Again, we open up with this so sad, so tragic news about the passing of Jake Ellinger yesterday in Austin, brother of Sam Ellinger, linebacker for the University of Texas. So it's kind of an unusual segment to open up the show on that and move into COVID vaccine for Buffalo Bills, but it's the time we live in. We'll talk more NFL football. Hey, here's some good news coming up. It's the high five play of the day, which is always fun and uplifting. A little bit later, just after 7:00, we'll talk more football, NFL, Dallas Cowboys with Coach A, Paul Alexander. Speaking of football, we love bringing him on board. He is our connection to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, one of only 2 Texans on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James Allen going to join us in the 8:00 hour. Again, contest at 7:20, NASCAR at COTA, contest at 8:20, Shannon's Salty Shakedown at 7:40. And if you want to jump in at any time on the phone lines with us, 800-707-9760. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler making the show go. I haven't even said hi to Dave yet. We'll do that in the next segment. Lots more coming up. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out. It's the Chris Duel Show. Sticks.
That's my favorite Sticks song. I love that song.
That's a great tune. I like it a lot too. I also like Too Much Time on My Hands.
Renegade.
Renegade's great.
Grand Illusion's good.
Yep. And I think I've told you this. My high school class song, Come Sail Away.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I go back and forth. Sometimes I really like it. Sometimes I go, oh my, it's so sappy. I just
pretty much everything that Dennis the Young sang was pretty sappy.
Yeah. Yeah. Babe, I'm leaving.
I saw the behind the music on Sticks, and Dennis the Young is such an asshole.
Is that right? Wow.
God, he's arrogant as hell.
That's too bad.
Because they go, well, why did Sticks break up? Or, when pretty much when they kicked him out of the band. And he was, well, I was the president. They were controversial. The president doesn't have all the power.
Wow.
That's what he said. I go, dude, God,
Yeah.
what an a-hole.
Tracy Bogert on Facebook just wrote, Styx is coming to Floor's Country Store in October.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'd go see them.
I've never seen Styx. I heard the guy that's in Dennis the Young's place is pretty good.
Cool. David Valles, man, it better end tonight. If it doesn't, we got problems. Because Sacramento is the only non-playoff team in the final 7 for the Spurs. I need to, do I have... Gonna pull up those final 7 games for the Spurs. Yeah, Spurs final 7 games at Sacramento tonight, at Portland tomorrow night, back-to-back on the road. Milwaukee Monday, at Brooklyn Wednesday, at the Knicks Thursday, back-to-back on the road. And next Saturday and Sunday here, back-to-back Phoenix. It is daunting.
Aerosmith Mama Can't.
Nice. Good man, Tracy. You took your daughter to Styx when she was 8. Very nice. Tracy, I'm with you on that, on vaccination. I just see what you, yeah. Trust in science, believe in science and medicine. Steve Duraco, good morning. John Williams, Luisa Alanis, Hector Gomez, Anthony Del Toro, David Valles, anybody else who's in here? Good morning. Precisely, Tracy. Clint Proctor wants to know if you're a Grateful Dead fan. Oh, right. I never did either. I love the era. I mean, I thought Jerry Garcia was cool. Their music never moved me.
I like Trucking. I thought Trucking was a good song. But pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
I never really
Yeah, that I Will Get By is kind of a nice, but yeah. I think drugs is the big, apparently if you're at a Dead concert and you're high on acid, apparently they rock. Apparently the key is to be.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the band Dish. You know?
Yeah.
When you sober up, you say it's like this best stuff. There's when I was in college, I was working at this grocery store, and the Dead were coming through for a concert, and the guy who worked in our who stocked the beer cooler, which is getting pissed off because the Dead hasn't come in there. Empty the cooler out like every half. You had to restock the beer cooler like every half hour.
That's funny.
All day. All there was goddamn hippies. You want to come in and clean out the damn beer cooler?
That's wild. Good morning, Beth. Welcome back to the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney and the man spinning the tunes, as always, your very talented soundscape stylist, Super Dave Ayler. Dave Ayler, I didn't say hello to you in the first segment. I'm so rude. What is wrong with me? Was I raised by wolves? No manners whatsoever. What is up?
Doing good. Trying to play some mother songs today for all the mothers out there. From Aerosmith.
That is cool. I like that. So mother will be a theme with Mother's Day coming up on Sunday. Little friendly reminder.
Idol or Mother or Mama or Big Mama or something like that.
You gonna play Mother by John Lennon just to bring us down? That's kind of a rough song. All right, well, it's up to you. It's up to you, man. I mean, I love John Lennon, and it is a great song, but it was, for anybody who's heard it, it was inspired by the fact that his mother kind of abandoned him very, very early on and was not, kind of handed him off to his grandmother, and then she died very young. So nothing like bringing us all down on on a Friday morning. All right. I'll tell you what will turn things around. Shannon, I think it's got to be the high five play of the day, right?
Yes, sir.
Whoa!
Don't forget, there's another Austin FC match this weekend beginning at 6:30.
Yes.
Where Austin FC will take on Sporting Kansas City in Missouri. So get to your local high five to watch that game. Of course, they are a local pub club for the team. So a great atmosphere. And go ahead, get in your brain to head there because in a couple weeks, the Zone and myself will be there for a watch party. We're going to start having watch parties at High Five. I'm super excited to be back out amongst the people and experience sports in a fantastic way, which is with a group of people, as long as it's not the Super Bowl, where I just want to
Yeah.
concentrate on every aspect, right? Even the commercials, I take it all in.
Saying,
But High
I'm
Five,
with you.
perfect location to take in the Austin FC as they continue with their inaugural season and looking for their third straight win. Again, that game is at 6:30 this weekend. And today we're going to go ahead and shout out Russell Westbrook, because there's a good chance this weekend he will tie the one and only Oscar Robertson,
Woo!
who currently leads the NBA with 181 triple doubles in his career. Currently, Russell Westbrook, I always want to say Wilson. I don't know why, but Russell Westbrook has 180. He did so last night in the Wizards' most recent win. They have 5 games left on the season. So not only will he most likely pass that, or at least get that record this season. I mean, think of all the years he has left. This guy gets so much hate.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because, he can be kind of selfish with that basketball. But part of those triple doubles are all the assists that he gets, and he has been dishing that ball. Man, Chris, do we not show this guy enough love?
It's a great question because, I remember the tail end of Oscar Robertson's career when I was a kid, and Oscar Robertson was beloved, and all of those triple doubles that Oscar Robertson had, and Oscar Robertson, like Russell Westbrook, averaging a triple double. It almost seemed like he was superhuman to not only score but rebound and dish the ball and get all those assists. So it's interesting. I just and to this day, I remember Oscar Robertson, showing up for the finals in one of the Spurs finals at the AT&T Center, and it was like royalty. It's like, oh my God, it's like Bill Russell. It's like we love Oscar Robertson, and yet you're right. People generally don't seem to like Russell Westbrook. I don't. I kind of find Russell Westbrook a little grating on the nerves. He's a little cocky, or he's not lovable. But I mean, results speak, and the guy puts up big numbers. So you don't have to like him necessarily, but you got to respect him. And I think if he gets this record, and he will, it's inevitable, for break Oscar Robertson's record of triple doubles at 181. I think you've got to tip your hat to him and give him the props that are due to him.
I think he has a giant chip on his shoulder, because we think back to that OKC team with KD and Harden still coming off the bench at that point, and Russ. KD, obviously goes over to the Warriors and gets a couple rings, and then he goes to the Nets. James Harden really makes a name for himself in Houston. Russ actually joins him for a hot second, and then they part ways, but Harden ends up at the next best spot, which is in Brooklyn, where they will most likely make a decent playoff run, although they are currently on a 4-loss streak, longest losing streak this season for that team. But Russ is, he's still ringless. Looks like Harden may get one before him, but he's got this record, which is going to be a hard one for a lot of people to even get close to, much less surpass, because as we said, he's got some years left in him to play in this league. So high five to Russ, as we hope to see you attain that 181 this weekend, and maybe within your next 5 games surpass it. High five, play of the day.
Plus, Russell Westbrook went to UCLA, so I automatically have to dislike him being a USC guy. Yeah. Although, as I say that, I'm such a hypocrite, because Troy Aikman went to UCLA, and I love Troy. I wonder if Russell Westbrook were a Spur, and if the Spurs were successful. See, first of all,
okay with that? Like, would you advocate for that if he was on the move?
Because of what you just said, that he's kind of selfish and never really wins, never really goes that deep into the playoffs. I don't know that I would like that for him to be a Spur, but it isn't. And I think I've told you this story, Shannon. I used to hate Deion Sanders. It's like when he was with Atlanta, and then when he was with the San Francisco 49ers, I hated Deion Sanders' guts. And when he would intercept a pass and get a pick six and do his little dance going into the end zone, I would swear. I would throw beer cans at the television. And then he becomes a Dallas Cowboy. And I loved Deion Sanders. And then when Deion Sanders would intercept the ball for a pick six, I'm in my living room doing the end zone dance with him. It's amazing how laundry the laundry of your favorite team. If a player will change laundry, how you can flip on them. So
yeah, the only one that I don't think I flipped on for speaking of Cowboys would be Terrell Owens.
Yeah,
he'd come right from the Eagles, and
yeah.
Even if he hadn't have been an Eagle, I couldn't get over it.
No, not to mention the god awful attitude that he had.
Yeah.
But so when Terrell Owens would score touchdowns for the Cowboys, I mean, were you joyous or did you go, it's a TO touchdown? I'd rather they throw to the other side. I'd rather they throw to Jason Witten.
I mean, he was there 2006 to 2008-ish.
Something like that.
What were we doing at that time?
What were we? You and me, or what were the Cowboys doing?
Cowboys.
They were. It was typical cow. They were 8-8.
Exactly.
I mean, most years they were 8-8. Yeah.
You scored a touchdown. Great.
Yeah.
Did we win any playoff games? No.
Well, and famously, I mean, for Cowboys fans to flip on T.O. after you'll remember when he mocked the star when he scored a touchdown for the 49ers and ran to the star, and God love him, and he'll forever live in Cowboys lore. George Teague of the Cowboys went and just rocked him, just hit him and knocked him on his butt, which is what he deserved for mocking the Cowboys, the holy, beloved, sacred Dallas Cowboys star. So you mentioned Russell Westbrook. A couple of things occurred to me talking about Russell Westbrook there, Shannon. Yesterday we were having the discussion about small market NBA teams, and you think about that Oklahoma City team, and it was constructed by their general manager, Sam Presti, who was a Greg Popovich protege, spent time learning under Pop in San Antonio. But you think back, they had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. And they came so close to perhaps winning a title with those guys. But then, KD goes to Golden State. They jettison Harden. Westbrook stays there the longest. But you wonder, and now as Spurs fans, we hope that the Spurs can build another contender and hopefully another championship team. But it's amazing. Even when you do that, Sam Presti drafted the right guys. He made the right moves. He got Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, but it was not sustainable. He couldn't keep that trio together. And you would think, now more and more now, you look at these super teams, and these teams try to create a threesome. Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. So it's interesting the way it came together for a brief shining moment in Oklahoma City, but then it all went away.
Do you blame that on the market?
I think it's part of it, sadly, and that's a cautionary tale for San Antonio. But to some extent, yeah. I mean, Oklahoma. I've been to Oklahoma City. It's
not much there.
It's Oklahoma City,
been, but I can only imagine.
I mean, God love them. And I'm sure there are people who say that about San Antonio. Really? You got your little river walk. And I mean, I love it. We love it. The people who are down here, but more and more now, if you're a young 22-year-old multi-millionaire and you like to party and you like the finer things in life, and a lot of these guys like to go clubbing. That's why LA, New York, Miami.
San Antonio?
Say, there is, yeah. But I would imagine the club scene in LA might be just a little bit wilder. Speaking of the Spurs on a 5-game losing streak.
Uh-oh.
They've got 7 games left. Tonight, it's the Sacramento Kings at Sacramento. And you've documented, Shannon, what Sacramento's been able to do to your Dallas Mavericks. They can certainly beat anybody on a given night. In fact, I think Sacramento's they're even now in the mix. Sacramento, the New Orleans Pelicans are a game and a half behind the Spurs. Sacramento, 2.5 games behind the Spurs. Suddenly, Sacramento has won 4 in a row. They've won 7 of their last 10. A week ago, they were not in the conversation for the play-in tournament. But the Spurs schedule, the only team right now out of the top 10 is Sacramento on the Spurs schedule. Then they finish the final 6 games for the Spurs are at Portland, home against Milwaukee, at Brooklyn, at the New York Knicks, and they close out with 2 home games against the Phoenix Suns, who currently are 1 game out of first in the Western Conference and have the second best record in the league. If the Spurs lose to Sacramento tonight, I don't think this is going to happen, but it is conceivable. They've lost 5 in a row. All of those teams are even Phoenix, the final 2 games might be fighting for the number 1 seed in the West and therefore the number 1 seed in the NBA. It's the god-awful nightmare scenario could be, what if the Spurs lose out? What if they don't win another game and continue to fall? It's not inconceivable.
Well, then you go back to, the idea that Pop would retire at the end of the season, and again, for him to go out like that. And then you mentioned the Suns, they already have such a great record, but they're fighting for that number 1 spot. Are you rooting for them up until they play for the Spurs to see if they can secure it beforehand, so that way maybe they do some load management with guys, especially a guy like Chris Paul, who's notorious for breaking down in the playoffs, to hopefully put a little more ease in the mind of the Spurs as they go into those back-to-back games?
Yeah, I'm rooting for any advantage for the Spurs. Yes.
Suns go,
Yeah.
It's so weird that the Suns are going for the number 1 spot.
And they did not, and this is, optimistic news for a team like the Spurs or your Mavericks, who will go to the playoffs. The Suns weren't in the playoffs a year ago. They were really good in the bubble and they darn near got in, but they really turned that team around. Obviously, they've got talent with DeAndre Ayton and a lot of guys on that team, but it's nice to see the Suns turn it around the way they did in just 1 year, and it gives hope for other teams. I'm noticing your Mavericks now in the number 5 slot, and the Lakers. We talked about LeBron James earlier in the week complaining about the play-in tournament. The Lakers are now in a tie with the Portland Trailblazers, who are in the 7 slot. Lakers currently win the tiebreaker, but they're both 37 and 29. So if the Lakers, who have lost 7 of their last 10 games, if the Lakers fall into 7 or 8, then they're in the play-in. So and right now, the Spurs are in 10. It would be the Spurs playing Memphis in 9 versus 10 and Portland versus Golden State in 7 versus 8. But if the Lakers fell into the 7 slot, as you've seen, Golden State with Steph Curry, they can light it up on any given night. That would be troublesome for the Lakers, I think.
Not to be salty, but I would not hate it at all if the Lakers were in a play-in and then they lost. And did not get to make a chance run to be back-to-back champions.
And if that happened,
what would ensue?
Yeah, well, I think the play-in tournament would go away forever if it's not going to go away. Adam Silver would be kicking himself from a ratings and revenue standpoint if the Lakers got booted in 2 games from the playoffs with that play-in tournament. So, yeah, that would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy.
LeBron would set up his own games at his house during NBA playoff games with a live stream somewhere.
Yeah, he might just start his own league. Not a bad idea. All right, coming up, we love talking everything, especially football, with Coach A, Paul Alexander. We'll get into some Dallas Cowboys talk, NFL draft, probably even college football with Paul Alexander. That's coming up just after the top of the hour. We will do another grand in your hand cash contest at 7:20. Don't forget at 8:20, your chance to win tickets to see NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas in Austin. That's coming May 23rd. Lots coming at you. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. We are with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Cinnabon 888, welcome in on Twitch. Yeah, we tend to talk football here quite a bit. Good morning, Wes. Yeah, sad story about Jake Ellinger, Wes. We talked about it in the first half hour. Sure, we'll revisit it again. I'm sure it'll come up with Paul Alexander here. I need coffee. I'm going to get some coffee. Thank you, Cinnabon 888. I would never road rage if my GPS spoke like you. This is, what is this? This is Starbucks brand brewed in my home. So I didn't actually buy it at a Starbucks, but it is Starbucks brand.
I have my Dunkin'. Just a Dunkin' girl.
Hello, Don Holding, a.k.a. Haas. Congratulations once again on the big wrestling debut on April 30th. Dave O does his own thing. Let's see here. Good morning, John Williams. Did I? Beautiful. Thank you. John, I have not seen that clip. And Don Holding, I see you're back at it. I saw a photo of you on Facebook yesterday getting ready for your next return to the ring, which is great. Paul Alexander is on the phone line. He's ready. You are correct. Cinnabon 888. What's funny, there's a lot of people on Facebook Live who don't see what we see, which are the comments coming in from Twitch and Cinnabon 888. So I'm reacting to those comments, and there's people on Facebook Live going, what's he saying? What's he talking about? So we're getting multiple comments. Most of them entertaining. I do remember Joe Fowler and the Boo Bear. I loved Joe Fowler. I had him in studio like 10, 12 years ago when he was in town. Joe Fowler was ahead of his time. Pre-ESPN, pre-reporting sports as entertainment. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
You made it to the weekend. You made it to Friday. Congratulations. We embark upon the weekend. Lots going on this weekend, certainly in the NBA as teams winding down the regular season, including the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs in action, back-to-back West Coast games tonight at Sacramento and at Portland. We'll talk more San Antonio Spurs a little bit later. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. Coming up at 7:20, the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. At 8:20, the NASCAR at Coda ticket giveaway. Also joining us in the 8 o'clock hour, James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But we love talking football. We love talking any kind of sports. We love talking life with Coach A, Paul Alexander, a man, if you're new to the show, he's done it all in the world of broadcasting, television, radio, news, sports. Huge Cowboys fan, huge Longhorns fan, and a Rice Owl fan as well because it's in his DNA. Paul Alexander, welcome back. How you doing this morning?
Chris, good morning. Very well. Always look forward to these weekly visits. How are you?
We are good, Paul, but as you can imagine, and Shannon and I talked about it at the outset of the show an hour ago, and, you know, bringing you on, given your affection for the Texas Longhorns program, and you've covered it over the years in Austin and around Texas and the country, and you founded the original Longhorn Pipeline radio show. I think we would be remiss if we didn't start with a very, very sad story coming out of Austin and the Longhorns program, and that is the untimely, shocking death of linebacker Jake Ellinger yesterday, brother of Sam Ellinger. Before we move into more enjoyable football conversation, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that sad story.
Chris, I don't know what to say. I was just stunned. My wife came into the room yesterday afternoon and told me about this. At first, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't process it. When you think about everything that's going on in that family, it's just particularly tragic. Our hearts don't know what happened here, and that's not really my immediate concern. I just feel so horrible about what has happened in that family, and by all accounts, he was just an absolutely wonderful young man, and he shared that dream of being a Longhorn along with his brother. And it was just a week ago that we're celebrating the fact that Sam gets drafted, on his way to the Indianapolis Colts, and now to go through this just a week later, I just don't have words to describe it.
Yeah, Paul, I'm with you. And it's hard to wrap our heads around, you know, such joy, as you mentioned, and Shannon talked about this when Sam was drafted and moving on to his NFL career. And then just days later, such a tragedy and sorrow. So, but I did want to just get your thoughts on that. And I know it's certainly, as we broadcast into Austin and all parts across Texas this morning, I know it is on a lot of people's minds. So I appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us on that. Moving to what is most recent, and you cited it with Sam Ellinger, the NFL draft. The Dallas Cowboys, as you know, first 6 selections were defensive. That was unprecedented in Cowboys history. Obviously, that defense needs a lot of help with new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Do you feel, Paul, do you believe that, you know, with an influx of new talent, some free agency, that, you know, that defense can at least become adequate this coming season, or was it so broken it'll take a couple of years to fix?
Well, I don't know what the source of my optimism is, but with every passing day, I get more and more fired up about this draft and what they did. And I think they got the right guy running the defense right now. And when you think about it, in that division, Chris, I mean, it's not like all of a sudden this defense has to become the 85 Bears. I think you just said it. Let's just make some steps forward. Let's become adequate. there is so much offensive firepower on that team. I'm very, very encouraged by the way that Dak's progress and rehab is going. But I take a look at this draft, and I really got to give the Cowboys really high marks here. I think they just addressed an awful lot of needs. These are very interesting players. They're talented players. They had a plan going into that draft, and I think they stuck with it. And I think ultimately, not only is there a lot of rookie depth there on defense, I think they got the best defensive player in the draft in their first-round choice in Micah Parsons.
Coach, I can tell you that my optimism that increases each day is all thanks to my delusional Cowboys fandom, because I can't start the season without thinking that we are going to not only go to the Super Bowl, but win that Super Bowl. Now, after that draft, some rumors about what would go on with Leighton Vander Esch. We now know that they did not exercise that fifth-year option. So what does the future hold for him as far as being a Dallas Cowboy?
You know, we touched on this a little bit last week, and I said something I was almost reluctant to say, but I really think I know what I was seeing last year. And let me say, first of all, by all accounts, this guy is just a rock star of a human being. People love him. He's a wonderful player. And, yeah, I did just kind of use the past tense, I'm afraid. But here's what I saw last year. Neck injuries are so frightening. And they're so disturbing. They change everything about your attitude. And I'm going to say it. I saw some occasions last year where Vander Esch was starting to turn it down, where he was starting to avoid contact. And there was no doubt in my mind about what I was seeing. So it did not surprise me at all that they did not exercise the option. I hope he recovers physically. I hope he recovers mentally. I wish him all the best.
And Paul, we might have just lost Paul. I think he might have cut out for a second. Did we lose Paul? We'll try to grab him back. Yeah, Dave Ayler will try to call Paul back. I guess his call dropped. And talking about Leighton Vander Esch, Shannon, I mean, that it is so scary. As Paul documents, you know, a neck injury can lead to some very catastrophic things. And again, I always think about these athletes like a Leighton Vander Esch who've played their whole life. I mean, how do you give that up when it's all you really know, and it's been your ambition since you were a kid to be the best football player you can be? And in the case of Leighton Vander Esch, you get to the highest level of football, and then to have somebody maybe take it away. We're getting Paul Alexander. We've got him back on the line. Paul, sorry about that. We kind of lost your call there for a moment, but I was just talking to Shannon as you were mentioning Leighton Vander Esch, and my God, it's got to be just gut-wrenching for this guy with the neck injury and having to make the decision about a goal he's had his entire life when he was a kid to play professional football, and to know that it might put the rest of your life in jeopardy has got to be just a horrible, horrible position to be in.
Oh, absolutely. And not just the first concern, but the only concern going forward has to be his health. Of course, it is a business, and they do need productive players. And I really tried to talk myself out of this during the stretch run and season last year. But he was always so good at not only taking on blocks, but getting off blocks. And now he was really starting to work the edges. He was getting covered up quite a bit. And there were some times where in the past, I mean, he would have met a running back in the hole and just vaporized the guy. And he kind of olayed him a few times. I mean, there was some matador work going on. So I hate to say this. I'm certainly not in any way questioning his character, his courage, anything like that. Neck injuries are just frightening. That said, I know what I was seeing.
Well, and Paul, we saw the Cowboys made another post-draft move as they cut Antwaun Woods just a couple of days ago, defensive tackle Antwaun Woods. And I kind of think it's not only is that a move that I thought they felt justified in making, but I think that also drafting these 6 players, drafting all of the players they did on the defensive side of the ball, and now cutting Antwaun Woods, I think the message that's sending to the rest of that defense, players who were in place last season, is none of your jobs are safe. And if you want to continue to be a Dallas Cowboy on this defense, we're going to need a whole lot better production from you moving forward.
Mistakable message for sure. We're talking about all those defensive draft choices. the big defensive lineman from UCLA, that guy really looks good on video. And it's really getting rave reviews from scouts, opposing college coaches, etc. So, yeah, let's hope there's a new attitude there. And, again, I think they got the right guy running the defense. I think we forget how successful he was as the D coordinator in Seattle. And it's always interesting to me that we think these skill sets are interchangeable. That just because a guy was a great coordinator, that he's going to be a great head coach. And it's two entirely different job descriptions. But I think the guy is a brilliant coordinator, and I think he's going to get this thing really shaped up in pretty short fashion.
Well, and that's where I wanted to go with you, Coach A, because as we saw last year, Mike McCarthy was way over his head coming off of his, I guess, sabbatical, whatever you want to call it, his time away, his time where he apparently spent studying every single play that ever occurred in the NFL's history. Because we know that when you come to work for the Dallas Cowboys, it's more than just the role that you're put in, whether you're on the field or a coach, right? It's everything that comes with having that star on your helmet or on your chest, and he just didn't hit the mark on either of those areas. And he's obviously more of an offensive guy. So how much control is he giving to Dan Quinn when it comes to this defense and what they're going to look like next year?
Well, I'm guessing he's just going to throw the keys to him and say, run this thing. Because, McCarthy was obviously not involved in the defense last year. It seemed that nobody was involved in the defense last year. So I think they've identified the right guy. And if you do that, what you want to do is empower that person and give him the ability to make the changes that need to be made. I think it's going to be a much more aggressive defense. And Shannon, you said something that I found really interesting. You talked about McCarthy's sabbatical here, and the word I would use last year, he looked rusty at times, and maybe that's natural if you've been away. But I mean, little things like game decisions, like actual strategic decisions over the course of the game, the guy just looked like he hadn't done it for a while. So let's hope that he's gotten over that speed bump.
Now, but if he doesn't, as we talk Dallas Cowboys and football with Coach A, Paul Alexander, if he doesn't get over that speed bump, Paul, I mean, do you think if the Cowboys have a mediocre season and if it looks like Mike McCarthy is just not recapturing the magic he once had in Green Bay, do you think maybe it might be time for the Cowboys to cut their losses early on this guy and blow him out after year number 2? Or do you think he will at least have 3 years to try to get it right?
My wife doesn't let me walk around with much money, but I got a 5. And if I had to risk my 5, I would say that he'll be back for a 3rd year, I think. I think they're going to have at least that long a leash on it. But on the other hand, expectations are kind of high right now, and you are playing in the NFC East. And if you look at all these rosters, strictly from a talent standpoint, the Cowboys probably ought to be the slight favorite there, although I'm really interested to see what's going to go on with the Giants. They've improved their team. The Washington football team can play that defense. I mean, the team in the NFC East that you just don't know anything about right now is the Eagles. But the Cowboys are going to have high expectations. They're going to have their quarterback back. So, yeah, this guy's going to undergo a lot of scrutiny. And I agree with Shannon that maybe he just didn't realize. I realize that being the coach of the Green Bay Packers is high profile. But being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is a different deal. And he just did not look comfortable in that environment last year.
Yeah, and just even not to mention massive public scrutiny of being the coach of America's team, but having to deal with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones day in, day out has got to be also exhausting, I would imagine.
Yeah, and this is interesting to me. I'm trying to watch this evolution.
To the contest.
And we think that, Jerry can't change his stripes, Jerry's Jerry, etc. I don't know. I think he's really making an effort to put coaches in a more empowered and comfortable environment. And I do think that Jerry Jones, believe it or not, after all these years, that he is kind of learning from his mistakes. And he is feeling his way through this a little bit better. And maybe it's Stephen's influence. I don't know that. But it seems like it's a more functional organization now.
More coming up with Coach A, Paul Alexander. We're going to take a really quick timeout for the moment, though. We do a contest at 7:20, at 6:20, and another one coming up at 8:20, which is our NASCAR at COTA tickets opportunity for you. But right now, it's the Grand in Your Hand cash contest. Keyword coming at you. Go to the website, pop it in. You got a shot at $1,000. Here it is.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Pay. That's pay. Enter it now.
Pay is the key word. We're talking football with Coach A, Paul Alexander. And Paul, the big story in the NFL, the gift that keeps on giving, and it seems there's more revelations almost every day, is this Aaron Rodgers saga with the Green Bay Packers. Most recently, we're hearing that Aaron, in text messages, calling the Green Bay general manager, Jerry Krause, taking shots, comparing him to the Chicago Bulls general manager in the Michael Jordan era, apparently also talking to other NFL players saying, you can come and sign with Green Bay, but just letting you know I won't be there if you do, which is kind of weird. Your thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers situation? How do you think it will resolve itself? And are you on Team Aaron or are you on Team Green Bay management in this fight?
Well, first of all, Jerry Krause references are never good. I mean, that's never meant as a compliment, for sure. And, Chris, when I'm looking at this, I just, that old column, can this marriage be saved? I don't think so. I think this is now irretrievably broken. And I think really, as strange as this sounds, I think Rodgers is in the power position in this. I think Aaron Rodgers really holds all the cards. And I think he's going to be in a position to kind of engineer this. Do I think he's willing to retire? Not necessarily, but I absolutely think he's willing to sit out 10 games. And I don't think the Packers could afford to be in that position. It's really interesting to me to see how Rodgers has kind of kept his powder dry until now. He was absolutely seething when they drafted his successor a year ago at a time when they had a good football team. He was lacking a few offensive weapons. They clearly needed a new receiver, another receiver, a number one receiver. And instead of doing that, they draft a quarterback. And I just don't think there's any limit to the depth of Aaron Rodgers' anger. And he did a pretty good job of saying the right things. Apparently was civil and helpful around Jordan Love, the young quarterback, etc. But he was just absolutely burned up, and he felt humiliated. And again, I think we're all products of our background and our history. And if you go back and look at Aaron Rodgers, the human being, the one thing you don't do is you don't embarrass him. And I think that embarrassed him deeply, and I think his anger just, again, I'll use the phrase, knows no depth. And when he had a chance to play his cards here, he was going to do it. So do I think we'll see Aaron Rodgers in a Packers uniform again? I do not. And as for which team I'm on right now, I'm going to say it. I think I'm probably in support of Rodgers' position. And I just don't think that the Packers handle that well at all. Now, we can all say, players play and general managers manage and coaches coach and stuff like that. Well, just not necessarily that way anymore. And if you've got a quarterback of that caliber who can do what he can do, and I'm still going to say this, Aaron Rodgers is still the most talented quarterback I have ever seen in the NFL. Mahomes is looming out there. Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback I have ever seen. And if you got that asset going for you, and you still had a window of another 2, 3, 4 years, and a team that, been right on the lip of the cup of getting to the Super Bowl, to piss him off like that, the kindest thing I can say about that is that's stupid.
Well, I've got a question for you here, Coach A, because with this story, and even with Dak finally getting Dak Prescott getting the contract that he so desired, it feels like the NFL is leaning more towards the way of the NBA, where it's very player driven. It's about making the players happy, because once they're unhappy, it's almost like that transfer portal in college now. I'm unhappy. I'm going to jump in and see who has better offers. And if they don't, maybe I'll settle back down. But if not, I'm going to leave.
Yeah, and let's be honest about this. There's a pecking order. I mean, there are players that can do that and players that don't have the leverage to do that. And certainly Aaron Rodgers is one that does possess that leverage. And talking about the relationship now between teams and players, what's going on right now with the union and these off-season workouts, this is going to get really, really nasty.
He is Coach A, Paul Alexander. I do highly recommend it. And Paul, give us just a few seconds on Radically Rational. I've been telling people to go to Facebook and check out. You're putting out some amazingly thought-provoking videos. What is the revolution that is Radically Rational all about?
Chris, kind of you to ask. It's just this. I think I and a lot of other people are getting pretty frustrated and tired of living in a post-fact society. It's like all of a sudden we've got a lot of our population that has just untethered itself from truth and facts. And people now feel free to regard as fact any fantasy that they just prefer to believe. And they feel free to reject any established fact that they simply don't like. And I don't think a society can run like that for very long. So the whole idea of radically rational, and we want to be equal parts rational and radical about it, is we're just tired of crazies. Crazies from every direction, from every point on the compass. It's not just a left-right thing. It's a crazy thing. So the way we describe this is we're bringing facts back into fashion. We're going to make simple sanity sexy again. And we're going to beat crazies of all stripes back into the shallow end of the pool where they belong. It is time for adults to take the steering wheel.
And I got to tell you, just tremendous, thought-provoking, and entertaining videos put out there by Paul, and soon to be joined by Lori Pearson. Go to Facebook and search for the page Radically Rational, and you'll see what we're talking about. Coach A, Paul Alexander, outstanding as always, sir. Have a great weekend. Let's talk again real soon.
Chris, Shannon, thank you so much. I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much, Paul Alexander. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, this day in sports history, sports birthdays, and a whole lot more. And just after 8 o'clock, James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Oh! The 5 Spurs games in 7 nights is catching up to me. My fatigue level. It's a good thing it's Friday. And I get a little sleep overnight and a little nap today. I need one. Badly. Clint Proctor, what is up?
Allison coming back.
Excellent. So it's Willie singing about mom. Ah, there you go. Okay. I didn't access it. I'm running a little slower than usual this morning, as is my brain, apparently. Yeah, I would have normally I would have thought I'd have accessed that song. Yeah, Wes Perkins, I'm with you on Dave Campo. But gosh, if you're Dan Quinn, you were up 28-3 on the Patriots in the Super Bowl. If they win that game, how different is life for Dan Quinn? Certainly, I got to believe Atlanta wouldn't have been as quick to blow him out. You know, you get that ring and you're in a whole different. That's why Mike McCarthy gets the other shot after Green Bay with Dallas as a head coach. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Now, Dave Ayler, you told me, and Dave, by the way, Chris Duel show with Shannon and Salty Sweeney, you told me before the break that was the Willie song, and it is, but on lead vocals, that didn't sound like Willie. That sounded more like Merle Haggard or somebody.
I think that was Waylon.
That was Waylon Jennings? So a duet with Waylon and Willie. So Willie's there on the stage.
Yeah,
you're right.
I call it a Willie song, but it's Waylon's in there too.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
The overrated Willie Nelson, according to Shannon.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Shots fired. All right. Welcome in. Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Coming up at just after 8 o'clock, we'll check in with our good friend James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's see. You've got one more big contest coming up. It is the opportunity for you to win outstanding tickets to NASCAR coming to the Circuit of the Americas. that's May 23rd. That's later this month. So we will get you to that in a moment. Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Before that, sports birthdays. And this day in sports history. On this day in 1969, it was the second ABA championship. The Oakland Oaks beat the Indiana Pacers 4-1. I think Rick Barry played for the Oakland Oaks. I'll have to look that up. On this day in 1972, it was the 26th NBA championship. The Los Angeles Lakers beat the New York Knicks 4-1. That was the Laker team with Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West and Gail Goodrich. That was quite the Lakers team in 1972. They went on a huge win streak in the middle of that season. And finally, more basketball. On this day in 1994, the first time a number 8 seed knocked off a number 1 seed in the NBA playoffs, as the 8-seeded Denver Nuggets defeated the number 1 seed Seattle Supersonics. Sonics were coached by George Karl at the time. The Nuggets were coached by Dan Issel. And it was actually a best 3 of 5 series. Back then, it wasn't a 7-game series in the first round of the NBA playoffs. It was a 3 out of 5. So it went to a game 5, and the Nuggets upset the Seattle Supersonics. That's this day in sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Thank you, John. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, George. Thank you, Ringo. Born on this day in 1933, NFL quarterback, Baltimore Colts, Johnny Unitas. When I say Baltimore Colts, the vast majority of his career with the Colts, he did finish up his career with the San Diego Chargers. Johnny Unitas, born on this day in 1933 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He passed away in 2002. Born on this day in 1950, boxer and actor Randall Tex Cobb. Randall Tex Cobb was born in Bridge City, Texas. You know where Bridge City, Texas is, Shannon? I don't know where that is.
No idea.
I know many of my Texas towns. I do not know Bridge City, Texas.
Isn't Bridgeport a thing?
I think Bridgeport is a thing. I know Rockport is. I've been to Rockport a lot, but
Maybe it's in between those two places.
That'll give me something to Google during the next break. Bridge City, Texas. Finally, born on this day in 1984, recently retired. I wanted him to be a backup for the Cowboys. American football player Alex Smith, who came back from a catastrophic leg injury to play for the Washington football team last year. Born on this day in 1984, Alex Smith in Bremerton, Washington. Very, very nice. That's your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here it is. You've been waiting and you are rewarded. It is your Salty Shakedown.
All right. I know that a lot of people probably don't like either of these fighters, but the truth is it's in the news. It's making a lot of headlines, and whether or not they're doing it all for show because that's what they're good at doing, or whether there really is some animosity. It got nasty yesterday at the meetup between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, who will be fighting June 6th in Miami. But both Paul brothers were on hand. And brother Jake Paul had a little standoff with Floyd, in which Jake, on a TikTok video, said prior to, "I'm going to steal his hat." They then show him talking to Floyd, talking smack, and then picking the hat right off of Floyd's head and running away.
Ooh.
Floyd's grabbing the back of his shirt. Chaos ensues. I'm surprised no one, at least as far as I'm hearing, was actually hurt. But Floyd walked out of that stadium heated. He ended up saying, "I will fight both brothers on the same night," because he just wants his chance to take them both down and bring them down a peg. Now, for those not familiar with the Paul brothers, they are obviously brothers who grew up as YouTube stars. I think they actually may have been on Disney Channel for a hot minute, but they kind of got all their ratings and views from doing kind of controversial things, and things just kind of escalated at one point to where they kind of brought it back down. They also started kind of rapping about all their controversy. So they've kind of made a living off of putting themselves in these situations and hyping them up. And, to say whether or not they're good people outside of that, I just don't know, because all you see is them getting in trouble these days. But this fight now gaining more and more traction, especially when you think of Floyd, who I think is 44 now. And, Lord knows what's going to happen if this Paul brother ends up defeating Floyd Mayweather. But do you have a hat you love so very much? Like, you wear this Valero hat quite a bit that you have on your head today.
Yes.
If y'all were in an argument already and someone were to pluck that hat from the top of your head because they were taller than you and they could, and run away with it as to end the argument, I mean, you'd be mad, but I
Yeah.
don't know that you'd go fighting the guy right then and there.
That's a good question. Well, and how much of it? And first of all, I wear the Valero hat because it's comfortable and it's light, and a lot of hats are well, but it's just very light, and a lot of hats. I got a lot of hats, but some of them are just too tight on my head, and you wear them for a 3-hour radio show, and it's just, I don't know. So anyway, but that's too much information. But how much of this? Obviously, when there's a weigh-in, when there's a promotional moment between boxers, it's tradition, it's shtick to they jawbone, they fight, they threaten one another. How much of this do you think was real? Do you think Floyd Mayweather knew the hat theft was coming and this was just part of the showmanship to bring more attention to the fight? Do you think it was real, or do you think it was contrived?
So I think obviously Jake Paul, who was the hat thief, knew ahead of time he wanted to do something of that nature to get the views. But this all happened off stage. Wasn't part of the actual on stage moments where they did with Logan, the fighting brother, against Floyd Mayweather, spoke with each other. And that even got heated as well because they dug deep. I mean, typically that, like you said, it's super staged, and it's really just to get the audience involved and more people involved. But Mayweather mentioned Japan, which, for those that again aren't aware of the Paul brothers, I believe that was the incident in which they did a video and there was a dead body behind them in the woods in Japan, and that caused major controversy. And it was definitely a low blow for the Paul brothers. And then they attacked Floyd back with some of the accusations that have made about him in some domestic instances. And so when typically they don't go so low at those moments and keep it, a little more above the board, they went low, and then they went off stage and started brawls outside of that. So anyone interested, again, that fight is June 6th in Miami, which is interesting because I know that Mayweather tends to like to fight on his home turf in Las Vegas, but this one in Miami in Hard Rock Stadium. I'm not sure if this is another like YouTuber fight thing where there's a ton of undercards with people you don't know. But this one certainly gaining traction as it is trending this morning. Moving on to the Olympics, because earlier this week on May 4th, an anti-Olympics campaign released a petition that they were asking for signatures. It has now almost reached 200,000 signatures at this point for people in the country who are against the Olympics taking place because of the rise of COVID numbers and the, concern that there could be an outbreak or issues by bringing in all of these other people and athletes from around the world. So like I said, almost 200,000 signatures in such a short amount of time. It really kind of shows the disparity that's going on between the population over there in Tokyo and Japan and the actual organization that has said, no, we're going to continue on with the Olympics. But there is some good news in that Pfizer and German biotech company BioNTech have partnered up, and they are going to donate vaccines to all athletes, and they will start vaccinating them by the end of this month to make sure that they have both doses, and then are 2 weeks out after that second dose to where you're clear, so they're good to go, because the Olympics are set to take place at this very moment, July 23rd. But it should be interesting to see just how many signatures this petition will get, and if it really has an impact. At this point, I don't know that it will, but I thought it was fantastic that Pfizer is actually donating for the cause to make sure that they can get as many Olympian athletes vaccinated as much as possible, because I think they can go over with a better peace of mind and just focus on the sport that they have been training forever for, and then one more year on top of that, because of course the Olympics were postponed. What about you, Chris?
I would hate to see, obviously for selfish reasons, the big attraction for this Olympics for me is Greg Popovich coaching Team USA in basketball. There's some speculation out there that this will be his ride off into the sunset, that perhaps, I don't want this to happen, but perhaps he would retire from the Spurs and this would be his swan song. So I want to see, hopefully Pop doesn't retire in my view, but I do want to see him coach the Olympic team in Tokyo. But it is fascinating, Shannon, that so many people in that country don't want the Olympics to come. But it would seem to me, and again, we talked about this earlier, science and medicine and math, if indeed the vast majority of these athletes, as you mentioned, are going to get the COVID vaccine, then they should be fine. I've already heard the stories that Japan isn't allowing foreign spectators to travel and see these Olympics. So you know your main concern is going to be Olympians and staff from these other countries, and if they're vaccinated, and even if Japan stipulates that you must be vaccinated to come, then you look at what else has happened in sports around the world, they should be fine. So I think they should chill and enjoy the Olympics.
Yeah. I think it's a positive sign to see what other sports have done just within the past year, especially when you look at larger events like the Super Bowl and even the Rangers hosting baseball games at 100% capacity. So again, July 23rd is when the Olympics are set to kick off in Tokyo. And finally today, the Astros, of course, Altuve's birthday was yesterday.
Whoa!
He had a great game as they get a win over the Yankees, but they've had a hard time this season. And it's kind of strange because it was 2017 when they won that World Series, and
Mm-hmm.
year of 2021. They've been getting a lot of flack still for those cheating allegations. Most people would say everyone cheats. They just got caught. This, that, and the other. But this year, most of the taunting seems to be more from the fans than the actual players on the field. And a Yankees fan was actually stopped at the gates because he decided to purchase an $85 Oscar the Grouch costume that they would not allow him to wear into the stadium, thanks to new rules enforced by the MLB, because the Astros complained about all the taunting they've been getting from fans. And I can understand there was the incidents where the trash cans were thrown onto the field, right? Once you're messing with the play of field, I think that's taking it a little too far, right? Don't mess with the game itself. It's one thing to have a little poster, whatever. But this guy, because of the new rules enforced, had to go. He went across and behind the stadium to bury and hide his costume that he spent $85 on so he could get it back later, and then came back into the game to take it on, and he had a sign with the name Trastros on it. But what do you think about the Astros now taking their concerns to the MLB? I mean, we talked about crybabies.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, they're crybabies, because at this point it's also like, come on, it's been
Yeah.
3.5 years removed from this. There's been other champions. There, we've everyone who was in trouble, whatever, they've served their time. Let's move on at this point. It's getting a little ridiculous. Or is baseball just not exciting enough to where this is the most exciting thing that has happened in the last 5 years? We still have to talk about it because we have nothing else.
I don't. I'm a huge Astros fan. I'm wearing my Jose Altuve Houston Astros T-shirt in honor of Jose's birthday yesterday and his big 3-run home run to secure the Astros win over the Yankees yesterday. But it's not a good. You should not complain. The Astros need to just take it. You're only. I mean, you know this. Bullies in grade school. The more you complain about them, the more you let them see that they're getting to you, the more they're going to do it. So you're just going to encourage more scorn. I think the Astros, they made their bed. They need to lie in it. They need to man up and just take it. Let the fans protest. Let them scream. Let them heckle you. Let them make signs and just use it as fuel and keep winning anyway would be the best. The best revenge would be winning. And they're not winning a lot this year, but hopefully that turns around.
Well, the new enforcement's coming down. People are going to have to get even more creative with their trash talk or trash craziness that they want to present to the Astros when they come to town, or if they make their way down to Houston to go to Minute Maid Stadium to take in a game for themselves. Want to remind everyone today is the last day to enter the Salty Shakedown Sizzling Summer Tailgate Contest for Good Stock, brought to you by Nolan Ryan.
Ryan.
Of course, Good Stock has 2 locations now in the Round Rock Express Dell Diamond Stadium. I saw both of them last night. They had full lines.
Woo!
Just like, it was a full stadium last night. It was so great to see tons of folks out. But go ahead, head over to am1300thezone.com/contest to enter. You can win meat so good you don't even need a salty shakedown. That concludes today's Salty Shakedown, sir.
And I didn't ask you, and we started the show, obviously, we had the very sad news about Jake Ellinger's passing, and we talked about it. I did not ask you about last night. You go to the home opener of the Round Rock Express at Dell Diamond. There are fireworks, there's fans. What was it like? What was the experience like for you?
I got there probably 35 minutes prior to the first pitch. Parking lot was crazy full. Found a spot in like the second to last row. It was incredible to see. The first sporting event I've been back at was Dell Match Play, but it was very limited in capacity. So to be out there and to see so many fans just excited to see live sports and live action, in true salty fashion, I was in line to get a tequila mixed drink during kind of the announcements prior to the first pitch and during the national anthem. But if you've ever been there, you're still very much part of the action. And so was paying attention. And it was a very surreal and moving moment to hear the national anthem played, to see the promo video of, Let's Play Ball, that everyone, it had been over 600 days since they had played a game, because of course AAA did not get to play a season last year. So it was super exciting. They got the victory 6-0. They play again tonight. So off to a fantastic start. Everyone there at Round Rock Express, top down, from the players to the organization, are just fantastic, wonderful people. Ran into Reed Ryan. So, he's obviously a huge part of that organization. But congrats on the win. Can't wait for many more games to come. I can't wait to go out on a non-school night so I can stay and play and enjoy some more of those lovely tequila beverages that I had yesterday.
Very nice. Very nice. Coming up, we'll talk more football, as we should. We can't talk enough football, but we'll also talk baseball, basketball, you name it. Coming up, it will be our good friend James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I want to get his thoughts on this Buffalo story that they might cut players who don't get vaccinated. That's kind of becoming a big deal. Quick break, sports update at the top of the hour. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Let's see. I need to.
Hey, David Munoz wants to talk to you. He's on the hotline. You got a phone in there where you can pick it up?
I do. I tell him I've got to text our next guest about topics. I'll pick it up in a second. I got to text James Allen.
You just want me to tell him to hang on?
Yeah, tell him I'm in the middle of something I got to do, and I will get to him in a second. Okay. Okay. I'm not used to picking up here. Hopefully I can figure it out.
Stephanos, you come over here.
Hey, David. David. Hey, man, what's up? Okay. Correct. To the Athletic. Right. Yes. Sure. You're right. I agree with that. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Enjoy it. Hey, on his birthday, you had to like it. Were you watching that live? Yeah. Was that a 3-game series or a 4-game series? Okay. Ah. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was 3, but I was wondering, did I miss a 4th one? So yeah. Okay. All right, sir. I appreciate the info. Thanks so much. Okay. Bye-bye. John, we will absolutely have Dawn Bartlett Hall back. She is a great guest and a great friend, and yeah, we'll have her back. Yeah, and maybe even as the NASCAR event approaches, because she's kind of one of our NASCAR go-to guests. Let's see. I got that story up there. We have not talked about Pujols yet. We probably will get to it. Let's see something here. He's ready. Cool.
He wants the Texas Fight Zone before he.
Ah, okay. Yeah, AJ, I got to look up how old is Albert Pujols by now. Is he hasn't been making a lot of noise lately, playing wise. He is 41 years old. Yeah, unless you're Tom Brady. There you go, 41. Unless you're Tom Brady, your athletic skills are diminishing on a professional level.
This is the Chris Duel Show. A day destroys the night. Night divides the day. But you run to the other. Now, Chris Duel.
The weekend is here. It is Friday, May 7th. Welcome to the weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. I'm Chris Duel, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. And coming up in just a few minutes at 8:20, your opportunity to win tickets, and they are primo tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. That is May 23rd. Hopefully you already have the keyword. We will tell you when to call in right around 8:20, and we will take the fifth caller when we tell you to call in, and hopefully you will get those tickets, which are really, really cool. We love talking football. We love talking all kinds of sports with James Allen, who is one of only two Texans on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Shannon, James Allen wanted to come in with this music. It's pretty big of him as an Aggie to choose that music. James Allen, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Thank you for our great stylist for doing that. I really want to do that for the Erlingle family because today I'm kind of getting choked up right now. We're all Longhorns today.
Yeah.
No parents should have to bury their sons. So anyway, we're all Longhorns. I don't care if you're Aggie, Baylor Bear, whatever you are. Today, we're Texas football first, and I feel bad for the Erlingers. Anyway, so thank you for that. A little choked up about that, but go ahead.
Well, and let me, and I appreciate that, James, and I'm assuming listeners know, and I know the vast majority of them know, and just for anyone who had missed the news or is new to getting, locked in, just a horribly sad story yesterday. Jake Ellinger, brother of Sam Ellinger, a linebacker currently with the Texas Longhorns, found dead yesterday, not far from campus. So yeah, and Shannon, you brought this up as well. What's really nice and cool, and there's James Allen, an Aggie alum, paying tribute to Jake and to the Ellinger family, but across social media, Oklahoma Sooner fans, Aggie fans, Baylor Bears, Texas Tech fans, using Jake's photo as a profile picture to honor him, which I think is a great sign of sportsmanship.
Yeah, it's just a really nice touch. Especially when you feel so helpless and you think, what can you do? This little gesture is going a long way.
Very, very cool. James Allen with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. James, we will move on to more and more enjoyable topics. I mean, we had to mention Jake, and we're so sad, and certainly our thoughts, our prayers, our hearts go out to the Ellinger family, as you mentioned, James. But we often talk football with you. You played the game at Texas A&M. You're a big part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, did you watch much of the NFL draft over the weekend?
No, I usually, like I mentioned, I like the pageantry. I read the stories and look behind the scenes and watch. Like I said, on the front end, watching a bunch of billionaires play poker. And again, as you and Shannon and I talked about, I'm interested. I'm at the other end of their career. However, I read the stories about the pageantry and some of the logistics, and overall, I want to see what the general managers, or in the case of the Cowboys, the owner, is doing.
Do one more.
I do
Drew.
look at that from a purely logistical standpoint.
Well, are you telling us that you missed future Pro Football Hall of Famer this summer, Drew Pearson, introducing the Cowboys' second draft pick? We played the audio on the show earlier. Drew Pearson just knocked it out of the park. I mean, he paid homage to Cleveland, where the draft was, to the Cleveland Browns, and then of course to the Cowboys. So Drew Pearson living up to his soon-to-be Hall of Fame stature with a tremendous presentation.
Well, my new brother, Drew Pearson, and that surprised me. I am going to look that up and watch it. I'm so excited for Drew also that he got honored by, Governor, Abbott. He gave him a special proclamation for the state of Texas. So, and I'm looking forward to see Drew in August.
Is it possible for Drew to do his own introductory at the Hall of Fame? Because I can't think of anyone who can do it better. It would be a disservice for anyone to attempt that. The man has so much energy and just lights up a room, even if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, no, Drew's. Yes. The answer is you can pick anybody you want. I mean, the great Ralph Wilson. I know the Bills are in the who founded the Bills, and was the first person to get a building named at the Hall of Fame after him, and his wife decided to sell the Bills. He got Chris Berman to introduce him.
Nice.
Berman was passionate about football and did all the stuff for Hall of Famers. So yes, you can get anybody you want.
And what a validation for Chris Berman. That must have been just when he got that request from Ralph Wilson. That must have been a big moment for him as well.
I don't want to get tangible unless you. But I was actually not. We're in this private area, and Chris Berman, who my mom and dad are listening, he spent an hour and a half, 2 hours at lunch with them. He wants to ask us questions. We let him talk. He's amazing. I'm having this talk, and he looks you in the eye, everything else, but he sees Ralph in his wheelchair being pulled away. He said, James, I got to go say hi to that guy. He gave me one of the biggest honors of my career, letting me introduce him into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it was amazing. I said, please go. It was a great, for a guy that's defined ESPN and radio, and to have all these big moments to say that was his top of his list. That was amazing.
Well, and since you mentioned Ralph Wilson, the team that Ralph Wilson founded, the Buffalo Bills, they are in the news. And this is kind of an interesting story. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, James. The general manager of the Buffalo Bills, his name is Brandon Beane, Beane. He was doing a radio interview, and different leagues have different incentives for players and staff. If a certain percentage of players or staff are vaccinated against the COVID virus, then it opens up more facilities. You get more office space, more opportunities to gather together as a team. So he said he would not have a problem cutting a player who refused to get vaccinated, which obviously got a lot of people's attention when he said that. It kind of became a big story. They haven't done that yet. It was kind of a hypothetical, but I think it does raise an interesting question as to whether or not that might not only happen in Buffalo or in the NFL. Might that be a thing across all sports, not only professionally, but maybe amateur sports and college sports? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's a lengthy question on different fronts. I will address it from the Bills standpoint. Obviously, Commissioner Goodell of the NFL has led the way, and the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, has followed suit, and they've done the best. They've actually worked with each other, fed off each other, and of course, Adam Silver of the NBA put the 85% vaccination rule into place, and the NFL hasn't formally decided what to do. I think they're also, knowing Commissioner Goodell, he's looking at the stats, vaccinations and stuff. However, anticipating that, I understand where Mr. Beane is coming from that. And I originally thought maybe he's, from a strategy standpoint, that's a great, jump on the other NFL teams. Get out there, do that. However, knowing the NFL as well as I do, you don't tell people what you're going to do. I really think if you dig deeper, you got to understand that the stadium is owned by Erie County, and Erie County has made it very clear to the hockey team, the new stadium, and the Bills that they are not going to play. They are not going. They want to protect their citizens and their county. So I think Mr. Beane he shouldn't have put that out there to the players. That's not how you do it with the players. As Coach Pop always says, that's family business when you talk about what he says, David Robinson or whoever he talks about. And that's how Belichick works, the Steelers, et cetera. And Jerry's kind of seeing how that backfires with the players as well at the Cowboys. No offense to Mr. Beane, but I really think that was bad for his players. If that is your strategy to get a one leg up, you shouldn't tell everybody. But to his defense, that's Erie County basically saying, we own the stadiums, and this is what you got to do. And that is a fact. Erie County has been very clear about that to Mr. Beane.
Well, I imagine for Bills fans, it's a bit of a contention point too, just because Josh Allen has been pretty vocal about, his decision on whether or not he will get the vaccine. He was talking about he's a stats guy. He's going to wait for more stats to come out, which is all fine and dandy. But when a guy like that is saying, well, I'm okay with cutting players who don't get the vaccine. Well, he's your starting quarterback, and he's, no chump either. I mean, he's been progressing year after year and taking the Bills further into the playoffs. Could that be an issue for the Bills looking ahead?
Well, it's a bad issue. You're right, Shannon. I was trying to be relatively nice and get to the disease of Erie County, but from a purely GM standpoint, it is a major mess up to your players. You don't do that. You don't talk about family business. You talk to them and say, hey, I need you vaccinated. Let's get one leg up on the competition, rah, 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 competition, culture, everything else. What he did and put the family business out there, even with Erie County breathing down his neck, it was a terrible move.
Well, and it would seem to me, James, you look at any NFL team or any professional team, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, it is a multi-million-dollar corporation. And in the entire league, we're talking billions. And, we've seen what this virus can do. And we've seen how, if there's an outbreak, how it can shut down a team. It's happened in the NBA. It happened to the Spurs for a week and a half. Big revenue will be lost. So my policy would be, and I agree with you, you keep these kind of discussions in-house ideally, but my feeling would be if if you want to be a part of this organization, we're here to make money and you're here to make money, that, you want to minimize any risk. And certainly if somebody's refusing to be vaccinated, then they're putting other players and staff members at risk. So I can see taking a hard line on this.
I agree with what he did. I just don't like how he did it. Purely motivational to your players. Why not call Josh and all the players and just say, hey, this is going to be our hardline stance, and tell them not only for their safety, their kids' safety, their family safety, one leg up on the competition, etc. But you don't just go out there and say, either you're this or you're no longer at Buffalo Bills. That doesn't resonate to 20-year-old high-speed guys. So, yes, I agree with the stance, but he could have done that in-house. And I understand Erie County probably broke his back, and then maybe they kind of, you need to say something, because if he doesn't have, Erie County can say you don't play in our stadium, which most people don't know that they can do that. So a lot of subtext into that story.
James, I wanted to get your thoughts on Jeff Heath, who, of course, spent most of his career with the Cowboys up until last year, where he was with the Raiders. The Raiders just let him go. He, of course, a strong free safety, an area where the Cowboys really struggled last year. Obviously, he's getting up there in age. They just drafted a bunch of people on defense, but wouldn't it be nice to have him back there just as a veteran guy? I mean, I think a lot of people, me being one of them, when he was playing for the Cowboys, felt like they were saying all the time, oh my gosh, Jeff Heath, what are you doing? He did it again, this, that, and the other. But then you miss him so much last year when you see just how bad it got. Would it be worth it for the Cowboys to take another look?
They're going to look at everybody. I mean, they bring in Jeff Driscoll, but who had his back into plays as possible backup for Dak, because what most people don't know, they got 3 guys right now in camp behind Dak, and I think they've had 3 other, maybe 2 NFL starts between all of them combined. So yeah, they're looking at a lot of people. That's why they're bringing Driscoll into camp, who left the Broncos. So you have to look at everybody. No offense to my Hall of Fame buddy Jerry Jones, but he tends to swing left and then swing extreme right. Obviously went really left on defense, which is great, but like you said, some of the key people go down, and you're not thinking about the future and or the backup. Football will expose you.
Going to take a quick time out here just for a second, James. We do this at 8:20. A chance for our listeners to grab the tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas on May 3rd. If you know the keyword, now's the time to call. Dave Ehler will take the 5th caller at 800-707-9760, 1-800-707-9760. 5th caller with the correct keyword wins the tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series, Echo Park Automotive, Texas Grand Prix from AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760. We're talking with James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And James, probably the biggest story in the NFL since the draft, and it even kind of broke just before the draft, is the situation with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. More and more, it looks like he is digging his heels in and does not want to come back. And a lot of people say we will not see him play another down for the Green Bay Packers. And I find it interesting, and even James, I've not been the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan just because of some of the things I've heard about. I think there's a certain arrogance to him, and just kind of hearing, he doesn't talk to his parents anymore. He doesn't talk to his brothers. I just have always thought that, there's something about Aaron Rodgers that's a bit off. So I wasn't a big fan. Plus, he beat the Cowboys a bunch of times in key games, including the playoffs, that rubbed me the wrong way, so I automatically didn't like him. But I kind of side with him in this dispute. I mean, to have a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback who is the current reigning MVP, and to be disregarded like he was certainly a year ago in the draft when they drafted Jordan Love, moved up for him and didn't even pay a courtesy call to Aaron Rodgers and said, oh, by the way, we're doing this. I think he has every right to be disgruntled and want out. How do you feel about this situation?
I do. Aaron is all those things you described. I still think you're more mad that he beat the Cowboys. But anyway, therapy for
yeah.
So, let's give you one real quick story to kind of put that in a box. No question that Aaron Rodgers was very disingenuous to Brett Favre, and that's true. And Brett never said anything, wouldn't comment on it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers walked in one day and said, I did this on the whatever the test they do for quarterbacks and all the academic tests, and my score is this, and I found out you did this. And Brett just looked at him and shook his head. So there was no love loss. And, Aaron really pushed Brett out and everything else. And there's nothing that has not been said there. Of course, Brett being Brett never says anything. But I love it that Brett said something out to Aaron and went, I know how you feel. It's like,
yeah.
Man, athletes and competitors, but trust me, I know how you feel, because most people don't know. And everybody talks about this Brett Favre retirement, not retire. That he had to do that because he said, I just want to play football. Let me go somewhere. The Bears at the time had a phenomenal receiving corps, phenomenal team. McClaskey family wanted him, and they were such jerks. Like, he came within Vilma purposely hitting his knee out to go to the Super Bowl. And they just said, they called him over the summer, said, you're not going to get a chance. You're done, which that's hilarious. And I mean, Jerry Jones has done some crazy stuff, but I'll put that one way above anything he's done. And then most people don't know, he retired, came back. He had to do that for his contract. And then they told him he couldn't do anything in their division. Oh, we don't like you, but you can't play against us. So they sent him to the lowly Jets, and he goes, I don't care. So I think it's typical Brett being kind of a cowboy country guy, texting Aaron, putting it out there. Yeah, I know how you feel, brother. So I think the Packers, once again, as they did with Brett Favre, are mishandling this in a massive way.
James, can you tell us about the behavioral health program that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is launching?
It's a great program, and wow, Shannon, you're doing your reading. So we actually have several programs that we're working with all our Gold Jackets, the Hall of Famers, and through the Hall of Fame, we actually have them. Most people know free legal service. Not that you can sue anybody, but for estates or funerals or everything else. And the behavior thing, we want to be able to give them all the health and special insurance and benefits and a chance for free to walk themselves through their things and their family, and to make their lives better, and also even some of their family members. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And again, that starts with our president and CEO, David Baker, the big guy you see knocking on the door, and Commissioner Goodell, who's very active on our board, to really look out for these warriors and their families without any fanfare. And I'm glad you brought that up, Shannon, and take care of them and expand. And the Hall of Famers and the Gold Jackets and their families are ecstatic about it.
Very, very cool. Great thing for the Hall to do. Go ahead.
This old guy on the board, I was talking to him yesterday, and I told him, I'm going to go on this radio show. Do you have a story for me about the Cowboys back in the day? And he's on the Pro Football Hall of Fame board. And he said, okay, I'll tell you one. I was in the selection room, and they were arguing about track star, a true Olympic track star. All these other guys say they're fast until they get out to Olympic athlete, Bob Hayes.
Yeah.
And the Dallas Morning News guy was not promoting him, and no one else. And a guy stood up and said, well, his stats aren't at the top and blah, blah, blah. And he said, this is about people that change the game or at the top of their game. Bob Hayes had one route, and everybody knew it, and he burned everybody. And then if you put 3 people on him, then he would open it up for Staubach. And I thought that was a great story, how even the local paper wasn't promoting him, but a man stood up, and it went in right after that Bob Bullet Hayes changed the game, because you actually put a guy, a sprinter, and a good player, but better with the thing, and he changed the way schemes were and everything else, the way people guard things. And I thought that was a great story, how Bob Hayes got in because he changed the game, and he didn't even get local support. It took somebody from the board of the Hall of Fame, and I thought that was interesting.
That's very cool. I was a big Bob Hayes fan. He was known at the time as the world's fastest human, and he actually was. He demonstrated that in the Olympics. James Allen, we're up against the clock, but I know you said your mom is listening right now. Mother's Day is on Sunday. A big happy Mother's Day to your mom and to all moms out there. So I hope you have a great weekend as well, James.
Thank you for that, Chris, and shout out to my Uncle John and Aunt Judy, who are Sikkim Bears, but we're all Longhorns today for the Erlingers. I love you guys. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you, Chris and Shannon. Thanks for the sound stylist to play the UT fight song. You guys have a great weekend.
All right, James. Love having you on, man. Coming up, we'll find out who won the tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas. We'll talk some more NFL, NBA, and more. We'll see if there's anything popping and breaking as we move into this Friday, into the work hours in the world of sports. We're with you till 9. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler making the show go. It's the Chris Duel Show. Thank you, John Williams. Oh, I'm so tired today. The week of a little extra sleep deprivation because there's been a higher volume of Spurs games. There were 3 and 4 nights, and for the week there are 5 and 7 nights, and a lot of them have been West Coast games starting later. They are again tonight and tomorrow night. They're 9:00 starts. It was a weekend, not a problem because I don't have to wake up at 3 or 3:30. But during the week, it gets a little rough. First world problems. All right. Today is National Roast Leg of Lamb Day. I'm not making that up. National Roast Leg of Lamb Day. International Tuba Day. It is Military Spouse Appreciation Day. Military spouses cannot be appreciated enough, in my view. And it is National Homebrew Day, in case you didn't know. My God, it's National Cosmopolitan Day. There's still more of these. It's National Public Gardens Day. Geez, what's that, 7 of these? So was there a winner this time?
Yes.
Okay.
I get 2 for, one for yesterday, but the other guy that called in had the wrong keyword.
Okay.
You want to give it to him, or you just want me to say it?
I'll ask you on the air, just the name of the winner. Yeah.
We're coming back with Danzig Mother.
Nice. Thank you.
Danzig is the name of the band.
I've heard of Danzig, but I can't say I know any of their work. I know. Good morning, you filthy animals. Thank you very much. Here we come. Let's see.
Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. To hear my word, be one.
Mother. Mother by Danzig. Submitted for your approval. by soundscape stylist Dave Elger. Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney on a Friday. The weekend is here. Dave Elger, we did just give away a pair of tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series Echo Park Automotive Texas Grand Prix, the big NASCAR race at Circuit of the Americas on May 23rd. Who was our lucky winner?
Our winner was Joshua McKinney.
Joshua McKinney. Good on you, Joshua McKinney. We're happy for you. Enjoy the race. Did you know, Shannon, today is International Tuba Day?
I did not.
International Tuba
I played
Day.
the trombone, so I missed International Tuba
You played
Day.
the how much did you play the trombone? When and where and for how long? And
Middle school through high school, and then I stopped my junior year of high school because marching band and concert band classes were going to get in the way of me doing early college classes.
wow, so you quite some time you played.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I own one.
Do you ever bust it out and play a little trombone?
No, the C valve. I think it may have gotten too hot one day, and the glue on the C valve broke. So it needs fixing.
You'll get it fixed
Yeah.
someday, and then you could
Anyone's
just
an expert in fixing trombones.
there's got to be somebody listening on the radio that is an expert
That one
in
that
fixing trombones. I played saxophone in 6th grade and in middle school, and did not continue into high school.
No,
I should have.
you weren't about it. Did you play any of the classics? Every time I hear Louie Louie, I just
Well, and that was the deal. If they would have played cool, it wasn't really.
Yeah.
The band director wasn't giving us great music in middle school.
I marched in the Chewy's Day Parade.
Nice.
Those in Austin know that that's typically around the Thanksgiving/holiday times, and Blue Santa, and people donate gifts, and it's downtown. And I marched in it, and we played Louie Louie over and over and over again. I'll never forget we're towards the end of the parade, but that's like the main section.
Yeah.
And the camera guy is just right in my face. I'm like, please don't. I'm already playing a trombone out in public in my band outfit. Please don't.
You didn't want that pub.
That tape is out there somewhere, and I need it destroyed.
We need to find it. It's got to be on YouTube somewhere. Dave Elger, did you ever play, or do you play a musical instrument?
I played a little bit of bass guitar.
Nice.
But that's pretty much about it. I was never in a marching band or anything cool like that. If my friends had, my friends had like a garage band, they just gave me the mic and just go up there and start yelling. So then I'd be like the lead yeller or something.
Nice.
What did you yell about?
Well, I was yelling.
My mom made me clean my room today.
It was lyrics like that. Yeah, it's angry suburban kid lyrics.
Very nice. See, well, this week we found out that you played hockey. I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I was in high school.
And you were a loud, obnoxious lead singer in a garage band.
Well, it was just basically, whoever wanted to grab the mic and get up there and do it. So, and after, 6 or 7 beers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got the liquid courage going on. So I get up there and just start singing.
Outstanding. So it's not only International Tuba Day, it is also Military Spouse Appreciation Day, which I second that emotion. A military spouse and military families are not appreciated nearly enough, so somebody show appreciation today. It is National Homebrew Day.
I can't go for that.
Yeah, I go for a homebrew.
Coffee or beer?
I think it's beer. Beer, yeah. It is also, and now it's getting a little ridiculous, it is also National Roast Leg of Lamb Day. Who the heck why is it National Roast Leg of Lamb Day? And why is leg of lamb a deal? You don't say leg of cow or leg of steer. It's leg of lamb. I don't know why people love it. I just don't know why leg of lamb became a thing. I'm just saying. There's more, Shannon, as if you want more.
I mean, we had May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th and then what a drop.
Then it goes downhill to Leg of Lamb Day. It is also 2 more, National Public Gardens Day. All right, yeah, they're eyes.
Sounds very British.
Yeah, and it is finally, thankfully, mercifully, the last one. It is National Cosmopolitan Day. The drink, the Cosmopolitan, which Carrie Bradshaw used to on Sex and the City was into I've never drank a Cosmopolitan. Is it a woman's drink? Do men drink a Cosmopolitan? I don't even know. I drink
never had
beer.
one. I think vodka, right?
I think vodka and like cranberry juice or something.
Vodka's okay. I'm not against it, and I will drink it.
Yeah.
It makes my arms hurt.
Vodka makes your arms hurt?
Like they feel like so much weight on my arms that they could just fall off at any moment.
I thought maybe it was because of bending it so often to your mouth. You go, oh man,
No.
my arm's starting to hurt because
that would be tequila because that is that's where salty goes. But no, vodka. My family always makes fun of me for it because whenever I do have a vodka, because you see something on the menu like that looks fruity, that looks fun. Let me try that, and then I have more than one because you don't taste the alcohol, and then later I'm like, I can't feel my arms. I once made my cousin drive me home because I was not drunk. I just could not feel my arms. I could not feel my arms. I needed her to drive me home.
I have not heard those symptoms from vodka before.
My arms don't work. I need help.
My goodness.
Drive my girl.
Now, you said last night you went to the Round Rock Express game.
Yes.
And you drank, you didn't say what it was, but you said it was a tequila drink. What?
No, the name of it. They called it. If you go to the Del Diamond, just ask for the Senorita.
The Senorita.
Of course, I went up there. Senorita, please. One Senorita for a Senorita.
On Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
So
she was like,
sort of.
They had like a gold and silver tequila, and I was like, I really don't care. Just tequila, please.
Just tequila me.
Tequila, please.
Now, is a Senorita, is it a margarita? What kind of a drink? I still don't understand what kind of a drink it was.
It tastes like there's maybe some orange juice in there. I don't know. I was not, again, that like I was ordering at the same time like National Anthem started to play. So I had turned my back to the woman making your drink, which I trust her. I obviously trust her with my whole heart and soul to do that. You should probably never do that. But I wanted to pay tribute to our country and see all the cool stuff that was going on because it was, again, it was almost emotional, like watching all of this happen. And, they did the first pitch, which was the in memoriam pitch.
Yes.
And obviously we lost so many lives due to COVID. And so to see all that was quite the experience.
Yeah.
And then they did the first pitch, the game started, and I had my tequila drink, and I had me a good old time.
Excellent.
As one does. I don't know what else you do at a baseball game. What do you watch baseball? You take notes? Do you go bring your mitt and head to the outfield to catch foul balls and fly balls and home runs? I don't think so. I think you drink tequila drinks. With your
Yes, you do.
Out.
Big story involving baseball. Albert Pujols, apparently being released by the LA Angels. He is 41 years old, obviously a big name, but you got to wonder what he's got left in the tank at age 41. I saw somebody on Facebook Live said he'll probably land with the Rangers. He said the Rangers take a lot of retreads. It'd be interesting to see obviously I think he still wants to play. He's in the last season of his 10-year, $240 million contract with the LA Angels. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to him next.
I mean, the contract leads me to believe that maybe he isn't going to come back. And if he does, maybe he'll play out the remainder of his contract. I don't know, 41, and you got all that money.
Yeah.
I don't know. And everyone's calling him a future Hall of Famer, so I think you're good.
Yeah, he should be good.
Put in your time.
Yeah, especially if you're not Tom Brady, by the time you get to 41 in professional sports, it might be time to walk away. Speaking of Tom Brady, there's an auction coming for the first touchdown pass that he threw in the NFL. It's going to go on auction on Sunday.
Like a video? Like one of those NFTs or something?
No, it's the football, apparently. It's the actual... The first football that I don't. That's a good question.
Usually, I guess they give it to the quarterback or the receiver when it's their first ever touchdown. In the NFL, right? So they took it from his house or something.
So he threw. Switched it out. He threw it to Terry Glenn, who later played for the Cowboys at one point, briefly. But Terry Glenn was the recipient of the first ever touchdown pass thrown by Tom Brady.
So you're a big Roger Staubach guy. How much money would you put down for his first ever NFL touchdown game ball?
first of all, as you know, I work in radio, so I don't have a ton of money to put down. But they say there was
imaginary money.
Imagine, I mean, to just about
all
any
the money in the world, would you go as high as it took?
Yeah, I mean that's a big piece of memorabilia to have Rodgers first and Brady now as the GOAT. I mean, that becomes, I think, a very valuable football. They're saying, and I'm surprised at this, they're saying a similar football was, and I'm trying to who was this? It was a football from the Patriots AFC Championship game where they beat the Indianapolis Colts in 2014. Oh, it was from Deflategate. It was a football from Deflategate auctioned for $43,740. So I would assume this is going to go a lot higher. This is a more meaningful football, Brady's first touchdown pass, than a Deflategate football. So I mean, I would assume this would be in the, tens of, I would say this thing goes in the $300,000 range. I mean, I have no idea.
It's crazy to me how much like we're talking about meaning for a football, and clearly Tom Brady does not care about this football because he's giving it away, and the dude just bought another yacht.
True.
Not a yacht, another yacht.
Yeah.
One that is bigger so they could take longer vacations.
It is good to be Tom Brady.
Well, I'm assuming all the money, though, goes to some sort of good cause or proceeds or something like that. But also, I think that football should maybe be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm just maybe.
Ooh, we should have brought that up with James Allen. It's a historic football. His first touchdown pass and his last should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We had a poll question this morning. We still do. You can still vote, but we talked about it. The general manager for the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, saying that if it came down to it, if it benefited the team, he would cut a player that chose not to have the COVID vaccine. What does our poll question say about this, Shannon?
Good sports teams cut players who refuse the COVID vaccine. 69% saying no, 31% saying yes.
So 70% roughly say if a player said, nope, I'm good, I'm not getting the COVID vaccine, then that player should just be allowed to play, even though he could infect other players or other staff members. Or
it is interesting to think about how the season went last year with some key players and some key groups of teams getting kind of knocked out because of just contact tracing, but also having the virus itself.
Yeah.
If that were to be a stance that some teams took and some didn't, what advantage, if at all, that would play in, not having games rescheduled or having full availability when you maybe go up a team that doesn't.
It's going to be interesting. And, we just automatically assume, well, the NFL is going to be back like it was before and it's going to be fine and no one's going to miss any games for COVID. But I mean, you look at, I brought up the Spurs earlier, just a couple of months ago, the Spurs missed some games. So, I mean, hopefully everybody gets, not everybody's going to get vaccinated, but hopefully enough of us. Shannon's vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. Dave Ehlers got shot 1. He's going to get shot 2. So hopefully the NFL in particular and college football is up and running with no issues from COVID this year, but we shall see. Our thanks to James Allen, who joined us earlier this hour. Before that, Coach A, Paul Alexander. Shannon, I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, my gift to her is that I ordered outdoor patio furniture that needs to be put together and it arrives today.
Are you putting it together?
No, I'm hoping my gift to her is she gets to help me put it together.
Okay, sounds good. Dave Ehler, have yourself a great weekend. Outstanding as always. Yes. To all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. If you got a mom, don't forget Mom on Mother's Day. Have a great Mother's Day weekend. We will see you on Monday. Adios, muchachos.